Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Prabhu Chaitanya Nityananda, Shri Krishna Prabhu Chaitanya Nityananda. A very warm morning to all of Krishna conscious searcher, all Krishna conscious path walker. A very good morning. Everybody in Vrindavan, in Mathura, trying to relate the self to Krishna consciousness. And this discussion, this video is somehow related to Krishna consciousness, but also along with the salvation, the Tantra. People have made everything about life science so hard, so something hard for the mind, so that nobody can understand. People, those have preached about the science of Tantra, the science of life, the science of Krishna consciousness. They have written so many books about that, and even then people, those were trying to follow something, they have not found something out of that. When we say Tantra, mind, body and soul, and when we talk about Krishna consciousness, people may find it absurd about this topic, but this topic is very much important as our birth is. The way of our birth through our parents. We are not going to talk about some things, something like body is made of fire, 5 elements about that, fire, earth, wind, water. That is relevance, but the main reason of our birth is the technique our parents follow, and even we somehow know about it. Because Krishna consciousness, we talk about, that is very spiritual. And when we talk about Tantra, some people relate it to some kind of black magic, some contact it with something called tantric rituals. Because we want to be awakened. So when we talk about tantric rituals, people see that we must be doing some absurd practice that we have not done it before, like going into Cremation Ground, seeing some bodies burning, and that will somehow raise your senses and the Tantra will rise in you. That is somehow some people understand about that Tantra of mind, body and soul. But when we are working in one-on-one with Krishna consciousness, and if we have to change so much of that we have to, from thinking of very uplifting science, that we do not talk about something that is after this body, only of Chaitanya, but nothing related to Cremation Ground. Because we want to develop the consciousness. We don't want to throw it somewhere in the ashes. So that means what we are doing with our body, mind and soul, that practice with the Tantra, that what it means. If we talk about that, Tantra is origin of Hinduism, and when we speak in Hindi Tantra, and if you break it in 2 pieces, Tan means the body, and when we say Tra is to fulfill that body. Tra means that we accomplish something, and we fulfill the meaning of something. Tra means that the meaning of something when it is fulfilled. When we have reached, like if something we call some machine of something, you say a cycle that will be only Tra, that will only be fulfilled when we run it, when we run a bicycle, when we ride on it and we take it somewhere. So bicycle meaning is fulfilled when you run it. So the Tra of the bicycle is to ride it. So Tra for the body, Tan means body, and Tra for the body means to fulfill that body. Fulfill that body with the mind, body and soul. So when we talk about the body, we will take things body, mind and soul separately. That when we talk about the body, when in the body we talk about that I am hungry. That means that when I eat, somehow I am following the Tantra. But in Krishna consciousness, when I eat in very good manner and I eat the things those are good for the body, those have natural vitamins, and I don't eat like something called Shamanic, Cremation Ground things, those don't care about that body must not bother about the food, what kind of food it is eating, but body is the only way to salvate ourselves. So what we eat, how we try the body with the hunger, that depends on the food we eat. So how we can give the one way of the Tantra to the body by eating things those are good for our body, like some natural herbal things, herbal products and organic foods. This is the main first thing for the body. And when I'm thirsty, there's another kind of Tantra for thirst, that you are thirsty for water, but because thirst is only for the water, and people start drinking, people start doing some regular beverages, those are carbonated sugar beverages, because Tantra is some old science, and in old science there were no beverages. That was total a meditation, a simple meditation that people have changed it in that way of that modern coming to you. So when my body is thirsty, I simply drink the water. And when I know the meaning of that water, the meaning of that natural thirst feeling, that water can thaw my thirst, that thaw for my body in the thirst way is the water only. And the water must be like natural, and it should be purified. It must not be something that makes my body does some harm to my body. So Tantra for body becomes the water also. But just drinking the water is not something that is going to be in our conscious. So we have to put some practice in learning what importance that water, simple water, have for us. Another thing is that we are living beings and we are not some kind of animals. We have made so much of luxury in life. We have made so many good costumes, good clothes. So another Tantra for the body is that attire, what we wear. What we wear, that should be something like that is you. Somehow that how you represent, how you be in the Krishna consciousness world, that how you would look like when you have to front the Lord Krishna consciousness. So that kind of tra for the body, that means wear something that you can relate yourself with the Lord Krishna consciousness. That is also the tantra of the body. And as this is not the only physical requirement of the body, hunger, thirst, the wear, and what we hear, what we put in our ears, not from the outside jewelry, but inside of it, what we hear, whether we hear chants, whether we hear some rock music or pop music, whatever it is, that must be somehow related to yourself, to only the conscious of the Krishna. That is another tantra. And the main thing, when we understand that how we are born, what practice was done that we were born out of it, that we know actually. There is nothing to shame about or hide about that thing. And if we put that thing on some low level, the only reason of our birth, then our life goes downgrading. We start going down. We cannot reach to the Krishna consciousness if we do not understand the real reason of, and we do not accept it. Because if we cannot talk regarding that technique of taking birth with someone, that is perfectly okay. But at least we must accept it inside of it. That the only reason that was the technique of our birth. So that is somehow the tantra of the body also related to that. That how you fulfill your body requirement. And tantra means that do that. Tantra asks for that. Tantra means your body must be fulfilled. And how you do it? If you do it in some very dirty place where you don't know anything about, like you go to some old abandoned places, cremation grounds, or some places where nobody can see you, or you fulfill your body staying at some very nice luxurious place, because some people find uplifting some abundant places. That means they are not related to the Krishna consciousness, but they are somehow attached to some consciousness of down of the life, when life can put to an. So that was tantra of the mind, that you have to celebrate your body to fulfill the desires. And tantra about mind. Mind is the main ingredient that our body eats every day. Apart from everything we do, our mind is the only factor that helps us to reach the Krishna consciousness. That what our mind is made up of. If our mind is made up of Maya's world, we earn there, we live there, then that same mind will take our body to that extent, to that consciousness. So, to tantra for the mind is like something the mind, we have already understood that mind is for working. Mind must be used, mind is calculated, mind must be put to so much work that it must not be free. You must always be doing something. But real tantra for mind is to be free. You must set free your mind. Because we have seen that our mind is inside. We know that mind is up in our head. But few people may have some notice about that mind is outside, it is not inside. Because through mind only we connect to the Lord Krishna Chaitanya. And if Lord Krishna Chaitanya can know our body from the inside, then he also can know from the outside also. Because the air we breathe, that is also some connection through the mind, through the Krishna consciousness. So mind must be like an air. It must be free. It must not have some bound of bondage. Bondage must be there. Bondage is good, but nothing to be some program. You must not program your mind. You must not put your mind to some calculations or some Maya connection to your mind. Mind must be free. You can give some tantra to your mind. That how you can use your body to uplift yourself, how you can use your mind for the same Krishna consciousness. Nothing else for that. Set free your mind. And another thing comes related to our Krishna consciousness is the soul. That how our soul can be fulfilled, how Tantra can be useful for the soul, and what is it that soul must be in Tantra. And when we talk about our personal soul is just like our imagination, our dream. We don't have any personal soul. Only soul we have, that is the dream of Chaitanya, the dream of consciousness, the Chaitanya itself that is dreaming through us. So we are the soul of that Chaitanya. So when we talk about the Tantra for the soul, so Tantra for the consciousness, Tantra for the Chaitanya. That means when we know that we are not, and the only conscious is that Lord, the only working soul in that is the Lord Krishna Chaitanya, and to accept that even I know and even you know. When you find same-minded community, same-minded people, you hold together everything. You put hands into hands, everybody in that same community. Why? Because outside of the Krishna consciousness, you won't find the same mind. And mind will just see what it see. We cannot stop the mind seeing it. And mind just simply reflect the same thing to our soul, to the Krishna consciousness. So when we have to fulfill our soul of the Krishna consciousness, we do not have to step out of that world of that Krishna consciousness. Because when we do come outside, we see something else. Then we have to create our consciousness again and again. But when we are living at such place where no one else is allowed, if you are having Tantra on your body, the outfit of that, when you eat good food, the inside, when you eat, drink only pure water, nothing else apart from that, that is the Tantra of the body. And when you set free your mind, and how you free your mind, that you put yourself, you surrender yourself to the Krishna consciousness, then the soul, the connection with the Lord Krishna Chaitanya, it should be maintained. It should not be broke. We should be living only at a place where only the life of Krishna, where only Krishna is walking, where only Krishna is living, where nothing else of the outer world, where Maya does not affect. Even I know that is Maya world, we have to earn it, but somehow we also have to earn the consciousness, the madness of it. So when we dance in the Krishna consciousness, when we chant in the Krishna consciousness, and we are worried about others, that when we are chanting, others must hear it. Others must hear the Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And that will give us some what you say, the opposite of sin, that we say that the God will give us good deeds in our accounts of the books in his soul when somebody gets connected to the Krishna consciousness because of us. When we chant, somebody saw us and they joined the Krishna consciousness. But we are worried about others. We are not worried about us, ourselves. Why there is not a place where only devotees of the Krishna consciousness can just chant? No outside people, no others are allowed, only the members of it. Where those who can literally have some meaningful dance for the Krishna soul, for the Krishna Chaitanya. Because when outside world come, when the Maya, we want to throw away the Maya, and Maya itself comes to your place. Maya inhabits every day your soul. You see everybody, and if you are so much powerful that you can handle both of the worlds, then I must say that I am not so much powerful. If I am into Krishna consciousness, then it must be the only world for me. However, I have to adapt. If I cannot see the world of the Krishna consciousness that I want to see, the world that I want to see, if I cannot see that, that means we must customize our life. We must go away from that Maya's world. Because we have a lot of common people, common mind, common Krishna consciousness people. And we must stay away from the Maya, public Maya. Then only the soul, the Chitwan of Krishna consciousness, of the Chaitanya, we can reach. When we will be so much into that, so much deep into that, that we don't have to think about what others are doing, whether they are doing what kind of karmas. I have just changed myself, and I just changed myself for the Krishna consciousness. So I am worried for myself, not for others. If I can be that much me, then Tantra of my soul, that will certainly reach to you, because that is the only communication that we have, the soul of the Krishna, the soul of the Chaitanya. And we don't have any private soul with us. If we understand this, our mind is outside, our soul is the Krishna Chaitanya, then definitely Tantra will rise in us. This Tantra is not a small topic, and it's not something that must be given some R rating or some kind of that. We must put some certifications for that. That is our soul. And we see the world, what it's doing outside. We are not apart from that, however, but we have joined some Chaitanya consciousness out, and we have to just change some direction where we are going. Chanting won't be enough. We have to live the breath or that soul of Krishna consciousness. We have to live that. Until then, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nityananda, Mahaprabhu Nityananda.